how I rebuilt my life and business after divorce. So about a year ago, I separated from my husband, and it was very, very emotional and difficult. And we ended up moving out my son and I ended up moving out really quickly from the family home. And so I ended up having to move into a new cottage, and then I was setting that up, getting furniture, getting it all sorted, creating a home. And that took me a bit of time to really get that sorted. And my number one priority was sorting out my son and his life. And so business got put on hold. And while I had my membership and I still showed up for my membership, I wasn't necessarily showing up in my business, doing the marketing, doing all the things that you normally do, like the videos and the chatting on YouTube or Instagram Live or whatever it may be that I normally would do. So I had to find other ways of keeping things afloat. And so for a good while, I'm glad to say I had my team who were managing a lot of, the daily communications while I was just recovering and getting my head around everything. And so that took a bit of time, and I really had to go within. I was having a lot of Reiki sessions, doing a lot of meditation and journaling, and wild swimming. I was wild swimming most days and running definitely every day just to keep me sane. But I had that routine of my son going to school. I was working on things, and then I would very much drop him at school, go for a run, and then I'd have about a 4-hour window before I picked him up. And so in the beginning, I was just unpacking boxes and getting sorted. Once that was done, it was like, okay, I need to navigate paperwork and get my head around financial stuff that I had no clue about. And so really my business, I pressed pause on my business. And that was hard. And so I got about 6 months into that, and there was a big there was lots of political stuff going on in the UK where people were talking about the cost of living crisis and how, spiraling costs and all of this stuff. And I suddenly thought, oh my God, I better do some work and pull my finger out and get going. And there was a moment where I was really scared, and I thought, I'm scared. I don't know what is going to happen. And I'm really lucky to say that, my business absolutely took off again from, that point. It took a couple of months, but I wasn't in that situation where I was thinking, I don't know what's going to happen. But I did have that moment of fear, because I think as all business owners, we don't know what's going to happen, particularly in a cost of living crisis. And so, and recession and all of those things. So I sort of navigated through that and just started being much more consistent with my content. And I would say that your messaging is really important. So showing up, being visible, sharing your stories, both the stories of you being vulnerable. I talked a lot on LinkedIn about going through divorce and my struggles, and I still talk about that, but also sharing your expertise and your knowledge as well. So having that balance so people get to know, multifaceted you. Like this video is more of a personal video, and I'm much more talking about stuff than say how to use Kartra or whatever it may be, which is more of my kind of how-to videos. And my YouTube channel is definitely a mix of those two things. And the reason that is because people might be typing into Google a question, how to use something, and my video pops up. And so they watch that video, and then they might see some other videos from me and think, oh, I really like this person. Oh yeah, I'll follow her. And so that's how you can build a connection through SEO, and they find your content that way, as opposed to, say, on social media where they might be following you and the content's being pushed out to your audience who is already following you. I found that throughout this process that LinkedIn was hugely supportive to me. People were really supportive of, my going through divorce and sharing posts about that and the struggles and the challenges of that. And so, I think being vulnerable with people about your challenges really helps you with your content. And it's okay to talk about those things. It took me a while to talk about it, so I had to sort of process it. I was going through therapy, I was having lots of Reiki, and I got to a point where I was strong enough to talk about it. And I remember going to a networking event and meeting like this kind of person that I knew from the online space, and he'd gone through a divorce a couple of years before, and he said, oh, it's a great way for you to grow your business and you know, grow your audience on LinkedIn. And I remember being like recoiling in horror at the thought of talking about divorce on LinkedIn. But he was right. And actually, if you've got those pain points and those forms of connection, I'm not saying that you have to go get divorced to do this, but there's many topics that you can talk about. But I do talk about divorce, I talk about single parenting, I talk about my son's autism, I talk about those things, not in a way, and with autism, I want to say that I talk about my experience of some of the challenges I have with that, like navigating teachers or things. It's his story to tell, but I can talk about some of those challenges. And so I think, you know, you can share content that is vulnerable and real. And the more that you show up and share that, the easier it is to build your business. And the more you are connecting and building those points of connection with people, like in the same way that if you met someone at a networking event, you'd find a point of common interest. You might talk about what was on TV, or you might talk about sport or whatever it may be, and you build that point of connection, whether it's the Brits all talk about the weather or going on vacation or whatever it may be. You build that point of connection, and then from that then you say, oh well, we should talk about work, what do you do? And so, but you've established that relationship. And it's the same thing in the online world. You need to establish those points of connection, and that's where being vulnerable can be so powerful. I hope you found this video useful. I share lots of tips and strategies to help you build and grow your online business. Thank you so much for watching this video. You know, thank you for being here. As I said, you know, my journey over the past year has been at times a roller coaster, and, you know, definitely scary and intimidating at times. And I have thought, what am I doing? And I doubted myself and hugely doubted myself. But what I do promise is that when you show up and you are vulnerable and you really do tap into people and connect with them, then the world opens up for you. And you know, that is really possible when you are vulnerable and you are raw and real and being yourself. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye bye.